Namaskar everyone and welcome to the 38th day of our Ramayana Satsanga. Lakshminatha Samarambham Nathayamuna Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Yo Nityamachyuta Padambuja Yugma Rukma Vyamohatastaditarani Trinaya Mene Asmad Gurur Bhagavatosya Dayaika Sindhoho Ramanujasya Charanam Sharanam Prapadye आपदामपहर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहं यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिं बाष्पवारी परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकं पूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम् वेदवेद्ये परे पुंसि जाते दशरथात्मजे वेदप्राचेत सादासीत् साक्षात् रामायणात्मना. With prayers at the lotus feet of Acharya and Prabhu Sri Ramachandra, let us go to our topic for today. So in yesterday's satsang, we had seen how Hanuman starts to cross over to Lanka, and as he is flying across the ocean, there are two obstacles that he encounters. First one is the mountain called Mainaka, who came out of affection and love. And the second was Surasa, the Nagamata, who was sent by the Devatas to test Hanuman. Now, as he finishes dealing with Surasa and he moves further ahead, there is a real demoness who appears as an obstacle. She is inside the water and her name is Simhika. She had this unique ability that she was what is called as Chaya Grahi. So, if something is flying in the sky above and she holds on to the shadow of that person, then she can pull them down and eat them up. That was her special power that she had. Now, this Simika was a real demoness. We saw that Surasa took on the form of a demoness and Rakshasi and came, but this Simika was really a Rakshasi. So, what she did was she grabbed, as Hanuman was flying over the ocean, his shadow was falling on the ocean. This Simika, who is inside the water, she caught hold of that shadow. And because she caught hold of the shadow, the power was such that Hanuman himself felt restricted and bound up. He couldn't move. And he is thinking, what is this? What is happening to me? Why am I not able to fly? Why am I not moving ahead? And then he realizes that, oh, this demoness has caught hold of me. And she comes to the surface and she says that I will not let you go. You have to become my food. I will eat you up, she says. Now she has no other intention. She's totally and purely a Rakshasi with the evil intention only. She has caught hold of Hanuman. Now what Hanuman did, she opens her mouth wide, saying that I'm going to eat you up. And before she can do anything, she had opened her mouth big and wide. Hanuman rushes inside her. He enters into her stomach. He tears apart her from internally, from all the internal organs. He tears her apart and he comes out within the fraction of a second. So by his strength, he has destroyed Simhika. And seeing this great feat, seeing this great work done by Hanuman, all the divine beings who saw him, they blessed him. And in fact, they say, Yasya tvetani chatvari vanarendra yathatava dhritir drishtir matir dakshyam sakarmasu nasidati. O Vanarendra, O best among the Vanaras, you are having all these four virtues. What are those four virtues? Driti, Drishti, Mati, and Daksham. So, like you, whoever has these four qualities, these four gunas, what are those gunas? Courage, vision, intelligence, and skill. Somebody who has all these four virtues like you, such a person will always be successful. They will never fail in any task. Like that, they praise his actions. They bless him also that he should do well and continue further safely. And on reaching, and after going across the Simika, there are no more obstacles. At one point of time, Hanuman thinks that, oh, in the middle, I had forgotten to chant Rama's name, and that is why all these obstacles came. So now he makes a determination. He starts chanting Ram Nama, and he goes, and no more obstacles come on his way as he's flying across. He finally lands on the other side of the seashore and he reaches Lanka. So once he lands there, he feels very grateful He thinks that it is by the grace of Lord Rama that I have reached here. And on landing there, he thinks that if these Rakshasas see me like this in this huge form, you remember he had taken the huge form to cross the ocean. So if they see me like this, they will definitely come to fight me. So they should not notice that I have come here. So he makes himself back to his normal size. He reduces his size and becomes just like another normal, ordinary monkey. And in that form, he surveys Lanka. He looks all around and he sees that it is such a beautiful place. It is appearing golden and beautiful, just like Amaravati, which is the capital of Indra's Swargaloka. Just like that Amaravati, this Lanka is also beautiful. There are lovely palaces everywhere. There are designed parks. There are waterfalls. There are forests. There are beautiful animals and birds chirping there. There are all kinds of entertainments which are available to the people. All the people also, there are some, they are all engaged in some activities. So he sees that this is just like Amaravati and he feels this is such a beautiful place. This Hanuman, who has no attachment to anything and anybody, he also is moved by the beauty of this Lanka. Now he says that, okay, by the time he landed, it was around the evening time. So he says, let me wait till it becomes fully dark, because in the darkness, nobody will be able to notice me. So he decides to wait till it is dark. And then he makes himself very tiny in size, like they say, the size of a cat. And he tries to sneak into the city. As he is trying to cross the main gate, the main dwara, and enter the city, suddenly he finds one big Rakshasi standing in front of him. Who is this? She is none other the city of Lanka herself, who has come in the form as Lankini. She is the guardian devata of that Lanka. So she is called Lankini. She notices him. Although he has made himself very tiny, she notices him. She stops him. She says, who are you? And she can see that he is looking like a monkey. Why are you here? You are a monkey. You are supposed to be only in the forest. How come you have landed here? Till now, I have never seen any monkeys in Lanka. How you have come here? Why have you come here? She starts asking all such questions. Now he says, I want to go inside and see your city. It is such a beautiful place. I am just going around here and there. I came here. I want to see your city also, she says. Then she is very angry. She says, no, I will not let you enter here. And because he is not ready to listen to her, in that anger, she slaps him. Now, as soon as that happens, Hanuman decides that it is not the time to be nice and polite to her. So he also increases his size. He becomes large in size. And with his left hand, the left hand in which he was holding the ring which Rama had given, with that left hand, very mildly, with less force, he feels she is a woman after all. So let me not use all my force. And with that left hand of his, he slaps her back. The minute he slaps her, see, actually, he's not put any force into that. He's just trying to pat her down. The minute he slaps her, she falls to the ground as if she's been hit by a very forceful object. And then she says, Aham tu nagari lanka swayameva plavangama nirjitaham tvaya veera vikramena mahabala. O Vanara, I am the city of Lanka. You are such a strong person. You are such a courageous person, right? You are Veera. You are having so much Vikrama. You are having so much Bala. I am defeated by your strength, she says. And then she explains to Hanuman. She says, I have been appointed to take care of this Lanka city by Brahma. And Brahma had told me that I should be here for a very long time. And he also then I asked him that till when should I safeguard this Lanka? And Brahma had told me the day that there is a monkey, a Vanara, who comes here and he slaps you and you fall down, that is the moment till when you have to guard Lanka. The minute when that Vanara comes and slaps you and you fall down, you understand that henceforth Lanka is going to get destroyed. All the Rakshasas in Lanka are going to be destroyed. There is no more any need for you to stay there and safeguard that city after that. So now I'm understanding. You are a Vanara. You have come here and you have slapped me and I fell down. So I have understood that now it is the time for the destruction of all these Rakshasas. Oh Vanara, you have come here to do Rama's work. You go ahead. You do whatever you have to do. I will not stop you henceforth, she says. And she quietly goes away. So then now Hanuman has all the freedom. He enters inside. And they say that when he is entering, he puts his left foot first and enters into Lanka. What is the significance of this placing the left foot first? We will talk about later. Now, when he enters inside, he sees what all is going on. He sees that many of them are very fierce looking, they are very strong, they are balashali, they are having a lot of weapons, they are having all the things they need to protect and safeguard that city. They are guarding, they are very vigilant. He notices that. Then he sees that in some of the houses, some of the Rakshasas are chanting Vedas, offering prayers, doing Homa, and so on. Then he notices there are some others who are involved with music and dance. There are others who are drowned in liquor. There are others who are busy enjoying with their wives and their family members. There are others who are having a lot of entertainment. They are in some drama and so on. So, like this, all different kinds of activities, even in that night time, lot of activities are going on there in Lanka. Now he roams around here and there, and he's not just seeing what is happening around, he's also looking to see whether he can find Sita somewhere, obviously, because he has gone there itself with the purpose of locating Sita. He enters into Ravana's palace, and there he sees different types of beautiful women. They are all again involved in various activities. Some have fallen asleep, some are singing, some are dancing, some are having fun, some are chatting with each other. He sees all this, and they're all very beautifully dressed in the most beautiful silk cloth. They have so many ornaments, and every one of them is looking so good. It's so beautiful. So he looks at all those women there, and he sees, is this Sita? Is this Sita? He's searching there, right? And then finally, as he enters into the chamber, which is just near Ravana's room, he finds that there's a very beautiful woman who is sleeping there on the bed. And looking at her tejas, looking at her radiance, he thinks that, oh, maybe this is Sita. Have I found Sita? And he starts to feel happy. But then he realizes that just as Rama is, in so much sorrow at separating from Sita, Sita also must be undergoing the same amount of grief. So definitely she is not going to be in a palace somewhere. She is not going to be peacefully sleeping. And then he looks closer and he understands that, okay, this is not Sita. Actually, that lady whom he saw was Mandodari, who is the wife of Ravana, the prime, the main queen. Of course, Ravana had many queens, and all these women who are there in his palace, they are all people whom he has kidnapped, some of them, then some of them have come willingly, but they are all his queens. However, this Mandodari is the chief queen of Ravana. Now, everywhere he is hunting around Hanuman. He enters into the Pushpaka Vimana, he enters into all the buildings. He looks here, he looks there, he is just not able to find Sita anywhere. And because of this, he feels very sad. He is depressed now. And he says, oh, what all may have happened? Why is it that I can't find Sita anywhere? I have searched the whole of this Lanka and I'm not able to find Sita anywhere. Then he thinks that is it possible that when Ravana was bringing her only with that, fear and that bad this thing, she fell, did she swoon in the sky and fall off into the ocean? Is that what happened? Or did Ravana bring her here and did the Rakshasas eat her up? Or did she give up her life in sorrow, in separation from Rama? Is it that she is no longer living here? What could have happened? He wonders. He thinks of all these, possible scenarios. And then he thinks that, oh, how can I go back now? How can I go back and tell Sugriva and Rama and everybody that I didn't find Sita? What will I tell to them? Will they not feel completely heartbroken to listen to this? Maybe it's better I should not go back only. Then at least they will be wondering what happened. But if I go back and tell that Sita is not there, they will feel so sad. He's thinking. Then he thinks, shall I stay here only? Let me not go back at all. Or he thinks, shall I only give up my life because I am not able to convey any news of Sita? Like this, he gets into a very low mental state. He feels very depressed. And then, as he is thinking like this, and he's thinking, what is the point of me living now? How can I live like this? And he starts thinking along those lines. Suddenly, he notices that there is one beautiful forest area which he has not visited, and that is the Ashokavana. So he decides that, okay, that is one last spot I have not seen. I have missed it before. Let me go there now, he says. And before he goes there, in his mind, now he's in a desperate condition. He has to find Sita somehow, isn't it? He searched everywhere else, he's not able to find her. So now he's completely desperate. And in that desperation, before he flies to that Ashokvana, he prays. He prays and offers prayers to Rama, to Lakshmana, to Sita herself, and to all the other devatas, whoever are there. He says, Namostu Ramaya Salakshmanaya, Devyai cha tasyai Janakatmajayai, Namostu Rudra Indra Yamanilebhyo, Namostu Chandrarka Marut Ganebhyah. I'm offering salutations, I'm offering namaskara to Sri Rama, to Lakshmana, to Janakatmaja, to Devi Sita, all these people I'm offering namaskara. Then he is not satisfied. He thinks, who knows who will help me, let some devata at least help me. And that's why he says that I'm offering obeisance to Rudra, I'm offering my namaskara to Indra, I'm offering my namaskara to Agni Deva. Let them help me, or let the sun, let the moon, let the maruts, whoever are there, let them all help me and let me be able to find Sita. With this desperate prayer, he enters into Ashokavana, and there is a Shimshupa tree, and that on that tree he goes and alights there. He makes himself he is very tiny in size, right? And he is sitting on that Shimshupa tree. That Shimshupa tree is a tree which has that typical grayish brown color, and therefore he is perfectly camouflaged by sitting on that tree. So for today, let Hanuman be sitting on that tree. We will see what he saw sitting on that tree, what he saw, we will see in tomorrow's class. Okay. But for now, today, whatever we have discussed, there are a lot of learning points for us. So let's go to that now. Now we said that Simbhika was destroyed. She was killed by Hanuman. Why did Hanuman kill her? Because she was truly evil. She was really a Rakshasi, and therefore, using his brute strength and determination, he killed her. Then Lankini was the fourth obstacle who came in his path. What was this Lankini doing? She was just doing her duty as the guardian devata of Lanka. She was trying to protect Lanka from any intruders. So she posed a challenge to Hanuman. For her, he subdued her. But he didn't kill her, he just subdued her using just a tiny fraction of his strength. So, after all these obstacles, he has come there, and we noticed that Hanuman felt grateful, he felt Kritagnyata, and he attributes that successful crossing of the ocean to Ramanama, to Rama's ring which he carried with him. He is not saying, oh, I am such a strong person, I have come and I have flown across and come, I have succeeded. He is not saying like that. He is saying, it is because of the grace of Rama, it is because I had Rama's ring with me, it is because I was chanting Ramanama that I was able to get this success. So, this is always the true sign of humility in a person. It is said, isn't it, that the more the fruits that are there on the tree, the lower that tree bends. So, also, when there is somebody who is really a great person, they are bent by the weight of their humility. They are really great, no doubt, but they don't claim that greatness for themselves. They understand that whatever they have in them, whatever qualities are there in them, whatever good things that they may be able to do, they are all a gift from the Lord. They are all because of the blessings of the Lord. They understand that it is the Lord who is the doer. They are merely the instrument through which it is getting done by the God's grace. So that sign of namrata, that sign of humility is shown by Hanuman also. Now, we said that after, pushing aside Lankini, he is entering into Lanka. And at that point of time, we said that he stepped in with his left foot. Now, why did he get inside with the left foot? Why not with the right foot? It is told in the Shastras that if there is some auspicious activity to be performed, like for example, if we are going to do Graha Pravesha, if we are starting out for a Tirtha Yatra, if we are performing a marriage, right? If we are participating, if it is our marriage, Vivaha, then in all these Shubha activities, in all the auspicious activities, we should always step in, we should always start that activity by using our right foot first. We should enter into that activity with the right foot. But if you are going to enter into the enemy's ground and you want to make sure that you destroy that enemy, then the Shastras say you should step into that enemy territory with your left foot, right? And they say that stepping with your left foot is equivalent to stepping on the head of the enemy. Now, the Vyakyatas say here in a humorous vein that maybe this is something which has been taught to our army people. Because if you've noticed, whenever the army people, when they are marching, how do people count their march? They don't say right, left. They say left, right, left, like that, isn't it? So they begin with the left. Because for the army, what is their role? They are going to go and step in the enemy territory and they want to destroy the enemies. So they are doing all their seva to destroy the enemy. And therefore, they also start with the left foot. Like that, Anjaneya, he stepped into Lanka with his left foot because he wants to indicate that this is the time now has come for destruction of Ravana and his Rakshasas. Then we saw that Hanuman noticed so many activities going on in Lanka, although it was late at night. Why is that the case? Because these Rakshasas, they are also called as Nishacharas, those who become active, those who are moving around a lot at night, and they are activated by the tamasic nature of the dark, right? So people who are more sattva predominant, they will find that they are most active during the daytime. They are feeling very fresh in the early morning hours during the Brahmi Muhurta, and during the early day part of the day, they are very active, and their activities will start, reducing as the sunset and night falls. But people who are more predominant in Rajoguna and Tamoguna, you will find that they are very lethargic in the early morning. They can't wake up only early in the morning. Moreover, the early hours of the day, they are very lazy and lethargic. It is only by the time sun sets and after it becomes dark that they become highly activated. So, if whatever we are following in our life, whatever is our pattern, we need to see, are we behaving like sattvic people or are we behaving like these nishacharas? That is a lesson that we need to ponder over. We need to think, what are we? Now, we saw that when Hanuman went inside there and he saw that beautiful woman sleeping in that palace, she for a moment he wondered that maybe this is Sita. Why did he get confused like that? She was actually Mandodari. But Hanuman, seeing her beauty, seeing her radiance, thought that she was Sita. So here the acharyas tell us that from this, we can understand that in reality, Mandodari had all the qualities which Sita had. But unfortunately, Ravana did not realize that. And therefore, he had so much lustful desire. That is why he had so many queens. That is why he had kidnapped all those women from different parts of the world and brought them there. That is why he was in such a lustful state with respect to Sita also, because he had a wife who was perfectly the epitome of everything that Sita is, but he could not recognize that. And that was the reason for that unbridled lust that he had. If only he had recognized that this wife of mine, Mandodari, is having all those same qualities, he would have, if he had remained contented with her as his wife, there was no reason for him to get into this entire, sad state of affairs. Now, when Hanuman was going around looking at all those ladies, right? At one point of time, he suddenly does some introspection. He questions himself. He says, why am I doing this? Why am I going around looking at all these women? I am supposed to be a Naishtika Brahmachari. Have I become Bhrashta? Have I become corrupted now? Have I done some papa by looking at all these women? Because as a Brahmachari, he is not supposed to even look at a woman, right? So he examines his own conscience. He says, what is this am I doing? Have I got covered by desire in my heart? What is happening to me? And then he examines himself and he says, okay, why did I come to this place? Why am I looking at all these women? Because I'm searching for Sita. Sita is a woman, so obviously I can't search for a woman by going and looking at the men, and therefore I'm looking at the women. Then he does further examination and he says, is my mind affected by this? Is my heart affected by this? Am I getting distracted by looking at these women? Are there some bad desires which are cropping up in my mind by looking at these beautiful women? He examines himself and then he realizes that no, even now, all the time in my mind and in my heart, I only have Ramanama. I'm not bothered about how these women are. I have only looked at them for the sake of identifying if they are Sita. Other than that, I have no absolutely desire to look at them. And therefore, he feels relieved that, okay, I have not got corrupted. I have not committed any offense. I am still as pure as I was before, although I have looked at all these women. So that is the level of Hanuman. That is the level of his brahmacharya. Now, for us, it is a lesson. We are definitely not at the level of Hanuman. Therefore, we are very much still attached to worldly things, whether it is any kind of an object of pleasure, whether it is watching a movie, whether it is hearing to materialistic talk and songs and dance and all that, or it is eating different kinds of tasty foods, or it is enjoying with our friends and enjoying with persons of the opposite gender and all that. So all those things, whatever it may be, we are still caught in this world of sense pleasure. So what will happen to us if we go to a place where we are lost in those sense pleasures only all the time? Then we are not going to be like Hanuman. We will definitely get affected by the conditions around us. And therefore, for us to we must make the effort to withdraw our mind, to withdraw our senses from the sense objects. We cannot say like Hanuman that I will be in the middle of all the distractions and still I will be very pure and undistracted. That is not going to happen in our case because we are not at the level of Hanuman. For us, we will get overwhelmed. If I sit in a place where I have access to a wide range of movies, I will definitely want to watch the movie. If I put myself in a situation where everybody is having fun and dancing and laughing and drinking alcohol and smoking and enjoying with women, I will also fall to that level only. Therefore, for us, we must remember that abstinence only is the best thing. We should not go only to such places. We should keep away entirely from such activity. We should restrain ourselves. We should restrict our contact of the senses with sense objects. So for us, that is the path. We are not like Hanuman. Now, Acharyas ask another important question, that Hanuman has so sincerely and with humility searched everywhere. Why is he not yet able to find Sita? And the Acharyas give the answer that all along he had been searching with his own faculties. He had been using his eyes and ears and everything, and his mind and everything. And he had been searching, thinking that I am searching. So there was a sense of aham bhava in that. There was a sense of kartrutva, the sense of doership, that I am the one, I am searching. Now, after he failed to find her anywhere, what happened to him? He became desperate. In that desperation, he realized that there is one place, and before going to that place, he prayed. He offered prayers to Sita Rama. So, till he was searching with the bhava that I am searching, he was not able to find Sita. Only after he offered prayers to Rama and to Sita herself, then he had the bhava that it is their grace which will show me where Sita is. So when he had that bhava, when he offered prayers to the Lord and Devi, and he went searching, that kartrutva bhava went away from him. The sense of doership was removed from him. The aham bhava went away. And with deep humility, with a prayer on his lips, with a prayer in his heart, believing that it is the Lord's grace that will lead him to Sita Devi, he started looking. And then, with that bhava, he was able to find Sita. This is what Acharyas tell us, that we are also often doing things in our life. We, whether it is our laukika things, the worldly things, or it is the spiritual activities that we do, whether it is the sadhana that we do. In that sadhana also, let us always remember that it is not I who am doing. If I say that I am narrating this Ramayana story, it is not I who can decide and who can do. There may be 101 obstacles for me. It is because of the grace of the Lord that He is giving me the ability, He is making me tell this. If you think you are listening to this Ramayana, it is not because of your wish and your determination alone that you are listening. The Lord has made it possible for you to be able to hear this. He has given you the ears. He has given you someone who is going to tell. He has given you the right circumstances. He has given you the technology. He has given you the heart to listen. All this is by the Lord's grace. So, whatever we are doing in our sadhana, we cannot do anything by ourselves. It is the karuna of the Lord. It is the anugraha of the Lord. It is the kripa of the Lord and the Guru that we are able to do anything at all. So, always we must remember that. Just like Hanuman could not find Sita till he thought he was searching, and only after surrendering to the Lord and praying to the Lord, he was able to find her. So, also for us in our sadhana, if we really want to attain a certain stage in our sadhana, if we want to go ahead, it is very important that it will happen. We have to put our efforts, no doubt, but we should not put efforts thinking that we are doing it. We should put efforts and we should keep praying constantly to the Lord to guide us, because it is only by the Lord's grace, it is only by the Acharya's grace that we are going to go anywhere ahead in our sadhana. So let us offer gratitude to the Acharyas. Let us offer gratitude to Lord Sri Rama for having given us all these teachings, for helping us to learn these things. And let us pray that by their grace, we will be able to practice this also in our life. Mangalam Kosalendraya Mahaniya Gunabdaye Chakravarti Tanujaya Sarvabhaumaya Mangalam वेदवेदान्तवेद्याय मेघश्यामलमूर्तये पुंसां मोहनरूपाय पुण्यश्लोकाय मङ्गलम् पितृभक्ताय सततं भ्रातृभिः ससीतया नन्दिताखिललोकाय रामभद्राय मङ्गलम् श्रीमते रघुवीराय सेतुलङ्घितसिन्धवे जितराक्षसराजाय रणधीराय मङ्गलम् मङ्गलाशासनपरैर्मदाचार्यपुरोगमैः सर्वैश्च पूर्वैराचार्यैः सत्कृतायास्तु मङ्गलम्. Thank you everybody, and we'll meet again tomorrow and see what happens next. Namaskar.